So if we need customers to sell, we need vendors to purchase. So and as we will see, setting up and using vendors in the system is quite similar to what we just saw for customers, and also a lot of similar fields. Let's have a look. So in the application, I can go to vendors, and also here from the vendor list, which by the way is displayed in a different layout, as you can see. So here you can select between a list, between large tiles or small tiles. I can now go to a specific vendor. For example, let me take London Postmaster. And by clicking here on the tile, you will see that the vendor card is opened. And also here we recognize more or less the same fast steps. So we have general, there's address and contact, there's invoicing, payments, and receiving. And most of the fields are exactly the same. So let me start with general. So also here, if I click on show more, you can see all the fields available on the general fast step. We will start with the vendor number and the name. Just as with customers, we can also block vendors, and we can see the balance in local currency. The balance together with the balance due. Then also to vendors, a document sending profile can be assigned. And if salespersons can be linked to customers, purchasers are linked to vendors, as you can see here. Then a vendor, of course, also has an address. Here you can enter the address, the postcode, the city and the country code. And at the right side, the communication details, so the primary contact number, phone, email, homepage. And if necessary, you can also enter our account number that the vendor is using. Then the most important fields on the invoicing fast step. We have the VAT registration number. If I click on show more, also the posting groups are displayed. And because also for vendors, the system will look at the posting groups to specify on which GL accounts vendor transactions should be posted. So that's what you can see here. And if you want to set up vendors in foreign currencies, you can enter the currency code here in this field. Then if I go to payments, so let me expand payments, we can assign an application method and a payment terms code. And then there's also the payment method code and the priority together with the preferred bank account. So you can use these fields to set up payment management for the vendor. So how are we paying vendors? So by assigning, for example, a payment method, I could specify that we're paying vendors by bank transfer. You can enter priority, so how important is a vendor in, for example, the payment management. And you can specify to which bank account we would like to pay the vendor. So you can set up multiple bank accounts here for the vendor. And by selecting one of them, you will see that the system will now suggest to pay to this bank account when you run a suggest vendor payments batch from the payment journal. And this is something which is explained in detail in Finance Essentials. Then if I go to the last fast step, so the receiving one, you can see here a couple of fields that we can use to assign vendors to a specific location. So for example, a vendor always delivers to the same warehouse, which means that I can assign, for example, location blue to this vendor, which means that the system by default will always use location blue when you retrieve the vendor in, for example, a purchase order. There's a shipment method code and a lead time calculation. So how much time does the vendor need to deliver items to us? So for example, 10 days. And there's a base calendar code that you can also assign to customers and that you can use to make the difference between working days and non-working days. And this is explained in detail in the course Trade in Microsoft Dynamics NAV. In the practice of this lesson, you can set up a new vendor from which you will purchase offered furniture in one of the following modules.